just got to raise the bar a bit, literally. Samantha, that was amazing. Where is she? Well done. That was incredible and really inspiring. Yeah. So for something completely different. Right. I'm here to tell you a story. So in 2021, picture this. A sheriff knocked on my door, not to warn me, not to protect me. He served me with papers for 476 million rand, a defamation lawsuit for loss of income. And my crime, I warned people about a scam. Hi everyone, I'm Louis Nell, and I'm a full-stack web developer, a researcher, and Bitcoin activist. I come from KwaZulu-Natal on the East Coast, and I didn't go looking for a fight. But in South Africa's economy, where debt is crushing households and millions are unbanked, and hope is expensive, scams don't just steal money, they steal futures. Today I want to take you on a journey from the shadows of fraud into the light of Bitcoin sovereignty and what South Africans can learn if we are serious about economic dignity. Right, let's talk about Karatbars. It was founded by a guy called Harold Seitz. It promised big promises about gold-backed wealth using crypto language, long before most people really understood anything about cryptocurrency. Picture this, MLM structures, big events amidst global instability. People already struggling, and this sounded like a lifeline to them. There we go. I think it was just a bit lagging. So that's what I got, the love letter, 72 pages of sins all documented. In 2019, the cracks started to show. At the so-called big event in Las Vegas called the Golden Independence Day, this promised coin that promised gold, physical gold redemption didn't happen. Regulators noticed. Here in South Africa, the FSCA issued a warning, and in Germany, warnings were issued. Then came GSB, a rebrand in 2020, a new name, but the same playbook. They only added to buy tokenized properties, buzzwords, but removed accountability. End of last year, there were settlements in the USA and Canada for investors. But here in South Africa, many victims were left holding nothing but screenshots and shame. Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. These schemes didn't succeed because people were stupid. They succeeded because of economic desperation, and economic desperation makes hype persuasive, especially in South Africa where we have 58% youth unemployment. These scams don't sell products, they sell hope on credit. My involvement was simple. I wrote warnings on my blog. I published evidence. We made videos on YouTube on our channel called Gcrypt, and I asked uncomfortable questions on X. That earned me a sheriff and some very angry emails. The worst part was a former friend that phoned me to ask me politely, as a friend, to remove tweets about Karatbars. He was deeply invested and had recruited many of our mutual friends. At the time, it wasn't funny. Now, it feels like a Wild West movie, dodging gold-backed bullets. what really helped was actually talking to journalists and other investigators, and we all came to the same conclusions, that the same patterns were everywhere. There was no verifiable reserves. Recruitment was rewarded more than the actual product, and there was always a central authority pulling the strings. Now, this is the key. Between scams and Bitcoin, scams extract value, whereas Bitcoin stores and transfers value. While Karatbars faded into legal footnotes, I ran a simple experiment in 2023. One of the speakers yesterday also mentioned a lady in Kenya that did a 3-year experiment, but I ran this for a year, and my holdings grew by 75% just from hodling Bitcoin. It outpaced bonds, outpaced inflation, and also doing all of that without a CEO, without promises, and without going to any conference in Las Vegas. And it wasn't just me that noticed. So there's some of the headlines when, after the warnings came out, it got some nice press, and some mainstream publications started shedding light on this topic. So in 2023, we rejected a settlement. They wanted to silence us, but we wanted accountability. So instead of retreating, it pushed me towards Bitcoin, and I started to study the antidote. What does this look like? Well, experimentation, using Bitcoin over Lightning for instant payments, running a Bitcoin node, using excess solar mining of solar energy to mine for Bitcoin, and contributing to open source software. And this is when it really came together for me. For the first time in my life, money felt like software, open, inspectable, mine to run. And the real question is, and I kept asking myself this, if this empowers me, what can it do for millions of other South Africans? The data backs this up. So mid last year, we had roughly 7.8 million South Africans that were using centralized exchanges like Luna and Vala. There's still a big Bitcoin dominance, 79%, and regionally we've had about 52% growth year on year for all cryptocurrency volumes. And 7.8 million South Africans prefer Bitcoin. Now, let's look at what we can do, because it's all good and well talking about it. Let's make this practical. So this is based on the mistakes that I've made. First, verify everything. If the reserves can't be checked on-chain, then walk away. Secondly, self-custody slowly. Get a hardware wallet, start small, and test your wallet restores. Third, and this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, is that we can lobby regulators and institutions like the FSCA to enable Bitcoin allocation in pension funds, because this will give people exposure to a new asset class. Lastly, we need to support grassroots adoption through MPOs like Bitcoin Ekasi, because education scales trust better than regulation. Now, imagine this. And this is the utopia, where scams once collapsed communities, Bitcoin hubs emerge, mining co-ops powered by renewable energy, education networks replacing fear, the fear with literacy. A financial system that doesn't ask where you're from, but only if you can verify. For the 30% unbanked, Bitcoin isn't rebellion, it's inclusion. My story began with intimidation. It ends with sovereignty. Where scams thrive in the darkness, Bitcoin thrives in transparency. So the choice for us in South Africa isn't between crypto or no crypto, it's permission versus proof. So I welcome you and invite you. Let's have the conversation that scams never wanted us to have. Thank you. I think we were under the time, so if you have any questions, you're most welcome to ask.
Could you elaborate a little bit on? So it said that you were accused of defamation and loss of income. I mean, that's a massive amount of money. 400 and what?
476.
476 million rand. How? What were they accusing you of? I mean, was it just, yeah, so I don't know. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? I'm very curious.
So there was multiple plaintiffs. It's 5 or 6 different parties. So the company and the individuals themselves. So the claim is jointly and severally, which means each have a different claim. So for all those people in total, and it's 2 separate claims as well, the defamation claim and the loss of income, in total for everyone involved, it added up to that amount.
And that was for five people suing you together?
Suing myself and 2 other individuals. Yeah. So the defamation part is one thing, and the loss of income is based on earnings or projected future earnings. So it's a theoretical amount, and up to this point, the highest claim in South Africa for defamation was something like 500,000. So it's an astronomical amount.
It's massive. Yeah, you kind of did. But I'm still fascinated by the whole story. It's weird that a scammer would sue somebody who's trying to uncover the scam. It's fascinating. I'm just very interested in the whole story. I mean, I know this is not the first time I hear the story. Where were they based?
The company, the head office is based in Germany. So there's different entities of the company. So there are warnings in Germany and in many countries. The only real action that's been taken was by the American regulators, where they actually negotiated a settlement, but it only affects mostly certain states and in the US and Canada. So South Africans didn't have that relief, and it's still ongoing. So no one's received the refunds yet. It's a dance between the company and these regulators. So yeah, it's a lifeline. I think they're trying to achieve something, and it's the first time that they've actually established a settlement like this. So it's also quite a precedent-setting thing.
And with regards to yourself, is this ongoing for you still, as I understand it?
Yeah, it's almost at a stalemate because they haven't requested a court date. So and we didn't settle, so it's in limbo. So they have to still request the date or settle with us. Otherwise, it's just going to carry on. I mean, it's been 3 years, so we haven't gotten anywhere.
I mean, I'm sure it's not funny for you, but it is kind of funny.
It's funny. Yeah, you can see the humor in it, and it's quite an interesting story. And I had the challenge because it's quite a depressing topic. So how do you make this funny and engaging and that? So no, look, there is humor in it. So you've got to see the funny side of it.
I mean, I really, sorry, I don't want to take up all your time here, but I'm particularly interested in this topic because the first time I ever walked in and was forced to discuss Bitcoin with the surf coaches before we started Bitcoin Ekasi, I was forced to have the conversation with him because I walked in on a scammer trying to sell the scam to the surf coaches. This was before I had the idea of starting the Ekasi project, and I walked in, there was this guy, he was a friend. The friend of mine, he'd been donating food for the kids. And I walked in, this guy selling a scam, and I was like, it's so true what you say. It's an important message. People don't understand how prevalent these things are in poor communities because of desperation. It's like you say, I love that line that you said where, what did you say? They sell hope on credit or something like that.
Yes, yeah. They don't, scams don't sell products, they sell hope on credit. And you're right, Herman, it propagates in close communities where there's trust already, and those relationships are established. So like church communities, surfing, any social group, it just thrives under those conditions. Yeah, it is what it is.
Just curious about the friend that asked you to take down the tweets. Is he still a friend? What does he think of what you did, and what's the story now?
We had a fallout during COVID on Facebook, a very public thing. We haven't spoken since, and he's also he's been disillusioned since. I've seen that he's no longer involved in any of this. But he's also exhausted his whole network of friends. So those guys also get burnt in the end. It's not. Only the top layer of people actually carry on and make money out of it. Yeah, it's not sustainable.
So,
Sorry, did they, were they caught up? Did they, have they been, are they still operational?
They reboot in different companies, so it's decentralized because they can fire up another new thing and then move over, and then usually they'll liquidate the original company, so you can't sue that, or you have to go after the promoters, but they are carrying on with the new thing.
when you discovered that this was a scam, and you obviously did your own investigation into what was going on, to whose attention do you then eventually brings it to say, because you have a lot of information that something under the radar is going on, but who do you actually flag it to say, hi, there's something going on here, and then where does it go from there?
Yes. No, that's a good question. Obviously, the FSCA now regulates it as a cryptocurrency as a financial product, so you can flag it with them. And there was or is an active investigation, but nothing's happened or nothing's been. So they build the case, they can't prosecute it, and then if there's a strong enough case, it gets handed to the National Prosecuting Authority, and they'll build the criminal case. So because it's so, it has to be so convincing, and it takes time to build the case. By the time it gets to that stage, everyone's moved on. Yeah.
And you say that your case has been dragging on for 3 years. From a legal perspective, what is it costing you? Because it sounds costly. Because
so there are costs involved. We're lucky. We've got a legal team, Bezi de Beer attorneys in Pretoria. So they've done work with MTI and clients involved in that. So they are representing us at very low cost. And while there's no work being done, it doesn't add to the bill, but there are costs involved, and especially if it drags on. And because we are sued in the High Court, it also, you have to get an advocate, and it just escalates those costs. Oh, sorry, one thing. In America, there's legislation, so that this type of lawsuit they call a SLAPP lawsuit, because it's strategic litigation against public participation. So it's meant to silence critics and shut you down and tie you up, financially with all the stuff. But obviously South Africa, we're not that advanced yet. So, it's a good place to use that tactic. And there are actual anti-SLAPP laws that you can invoke and then to squash or get this thrown out. But we don't have those privileges here.
Okay, I have 2 questions. So currently, do you have any kind of criminal charge against you? Does it interfere with travel or anything else you want to do?
No, because it's a civil claim. It's just a civil litigation. So no, there's nothing like that.
Okay. And is there any way, has any measurement been done on how much money people have lost with Karatbars? Is there any way to establish that?
I haven't seen a final figure, but it's huge. So because it wasn't just cryptocurrency, it was actual gold, gold in small quantity, so gold sales, a whole range of stuff. So it's hard to estimate, but yeah, it's millions and millions. Well, thanks for all the questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you very much.